and they didn't hit, I would think, those son of a guns can see my fluke, see my braid. So I just eliminate that from the get-go. Does anybody jig straight braid? You notice a difference? Okay. So maybe I'm over-engineering it a little bit.
Check his angler journal.
That's right, we're going to check our old catch rate.
You tie right on your braid.
Yeah,
Because you're night fishing.
yeah, it's just.
All right, so here's the basic setup, okay? This is a 3/4 ounce jig head, all right? And Lacey's got these, you can see them over here, he's got them in all, like, white with red eyes, white with yellow eyes, white with silver eyes, silver heads with white eyes, chartreuse with, I mean, there's a multitude of combinations. The most important piece of this jig head is right here. And this is something you have to add yourself, okay? It's a split ring and a barrel swivel. And the reason for that is you want to eliminate line twist, okay? It's not as bad on the bait caster, but it can be bad. If you're jigging with a spinning rod, it could be awful. So saying that, like I said, the glasses, this is a necessary piece of equipment if you are trying to put split rings and barrel swivels on. A pair of these little pliers. And again, you want to have dozens in your box, ready to go fishing, already equipped like this. Because I can tell you, if I told you it was hard to tie knots and tie leaders together, this right here would be impossible to do in the cold. Okay? In my tackle box right now, and I'm low on jig heads, I bet you I have at least 2.5, maybe 3 dozen jig heads dressed, ready to put the fluke on. Okay? If I get below 2 dozen, I start to get shaky. Like, seriously, like, I'm like, if I go out and I have to try to do this on the boat, it's not going to happen. It won't. Okay? So take your time at home and do this. One thing that I don't do, and I know some people do it, I don't pre-dress mine. Because I think sometimes the flukes change colors in your tackle box. I want this thing looking as crisp and clean and new as possible when it hits the water. I don't want it to be. I want that white to be white. I don't want it to be stained at all. So everything is going to be dressed. In fact, if I went fishing tomorrow, those flukes would come off, and I'd put a brand new fluke on them. I'm not fishing with that. It looks fine, but I'm not fishing with that.
What do you mean drill?
Okay, let me show you. See how this one's not dressed? This one doesn't have a fluke on it. All right, so I call that undressed right there. All right, that one's ready to go fishing tomorrow if I want to, and it's ready to put a fluke on it, ready to go. Like I said, if Pat goes fishing with me tomorrow, he's not getting that.
He's giving me the other one.
Or drill.
Yes, sir.
I don't get any naked.
Have you ever tried where you have your split ring, just use one of those clips type of things? They make real small ones, and I'm just asking.
I'm so used to this. I've done it this way for so many years, and I've been successful using it. I don't want to rock the boat.
Okay.
You know, something else may work. I don't know. I just don't. I don't want to lose a fish trying something that may or may not work when I know that this works. Does anybody tie? Oh, go ahead.
Have you had experienced as much line twist since you switched to braid fluorocarbon? Is there like compared to straight fluorocarbon or straight mono?
I've never jigged with anything other than braid, so I have no. I mean, I've always used braid, and I'm such a believer in braid. Every spinning rod that I own, even if it's a bluegill or a trout rod, has got braid on it. Because I don't even want to deal with the twist of you know. I mean, now if I go trout fishing or whatever, I might have a 20-foot, 4-pound fluorocarbon, fluorocarbon leader on it. But every spinning rod that I have has braid on it, doesn't it, Gary? Gary's fished on my boat. He knows every rod, spinning rod's got brakes on it. But I tried to jig one night with a bass rod. You know, I was out one night, saw some stripers, and I didn't like the feel. There was too much stretch in that fluorocarbon for me. I couldn't get the feel down. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I think you can get a lot more line twist with straight fluoro or
Do you?
straight polymer or something, or straight
Yeah.
polymer, P-line, something like that. But when you go to braid, you know, that kind of eliminates a lot of your line twist.
Yeah.
Because there's zero memory.
Do you tie straight to it?
I do now.
Do you?
I've actually eliminated the split ring and the barrel swivel just because of going to braid.
And you hadn't had any problems
So
with it?
as long as I keep my leader short, I don't have any issues. Now, if I got a 30, 40 foot leader, say I'm down in Craddock, super clear water, then yeah, at the end of the day, I just replace the leader. But, you know, we did that for a long time, though, Chad. I still
Yep.
got a lot of big rigs up there.
And let me tell you, until you get efficient putting these on, you're looking at like 3 or 4 minutes per jig head. And I mean, it's not it's going to take you some time. So man, if that's the case, I'm going to start experimenting with it and see. Because I mean, like I told you guys, maybe the longest leader I would ever run jigging would be like 12 feet. Now, are you jigging with a long leader like that, or is that bass fishing?
No, if I'm down lake, I'm definitely jigging with a little bit longer leader just because of how clear it is. But
Okay.
where I live up the river, I'm not as concerned with it. Like a 10 to 12 foot is pretty standard.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I might start trying to play with that a
Use
little
a
bit.
ball bearing swivel or a regular swivel?
It's a ball bearing swivel. It's a barrel swivel.
Yeah,
But a ball bearing.
It's called that's actually a crane swivel there.
Is that a crane? Okay.
So crane swivel will do just fine. Ball barrel will
Yeah.
Do you ever use super glue or anything to attach the fluke to the jig head?
I don't, but I know he does.
I do. I'm cheaper than Chad. So.
You get his old foot.
Yeah, I can beat everything.
Lacey calls me up. He's like, "How many fish did you catch today?" I'm like, "Well, I caught 3." He's like, "All right, send me over that fluke. I know you don't want it anymore. So I can catch 3 more fish." All right, so again, I am no expert, but to me, this seems to be the most loved pattern. Take off the jig head because I know people like different jig head, but this is the most probably loved fluke on the lake. It's the white ice. All right. If you go in any tackle store, they're probably going to have more of the white ice around here than anything. It does well. I don't like that in super clear water because this half of the bait right here is very translucent. And if you've ever seen the striper fingerlings in the clear water, they disappear really quick because of their translucent nature. So if I'm fishing in really clear water, I don't use this. Switch to the next one, Gary. I think the next one's going to be my favorite. Yeah, this is called Silver Rainbow. Now that's going to have like, that looks a little kind of yellowy. It's not. That's this one right here. That's Silver Rainbow.
What brand are they?
Zoom Super Fluke. Zoom Super Fluke. I think they are. Are they 5? They're 5 1/4, aren't they? They're not 5 1/2 inches. They're 5 1/4. All right, and you can see, I like this combo right here. I love that silver head. I think it gives a little flash. That eye, woo, baby, that's sexy eyes right there. But that's my. And you can see, I think I caught a fish on this. But you want to watch. The other thing that will happen. You notice, if you have a hook keeper, use your hook keeper down here, or if you don't, I use like the bar here on your reel. I don't like to put it on the eyes of, because what will happen if you're going down the lake, that tail will stick, and then when you peel it off, that's what happens. You lose the tail. I'm trying to save you guys money. Go on and switch to the next one.
Use paddle tail.
Did you bite the head off that?
Yes, I bite about 1/4 to 1/2 inch off. And let me tell you, when you bite the head off that thing, savor every second of it. That salt, oh man, that's the best taste in the world right there. You get that gumminess and the salt together. Oh man, that's good. Do not overlook this combo. This is, to get you the right name. So this is Salty Super Fluke and it's called glow chartreuse. So if we turn the lights off in here, this body is going to glow. So down at 50 feet, this body's going to glow. And when you match it with that chartreuse tail, and that's kiss me eyes right there, fellas. All right? When the water's murky, or if I'm fishing really deep, like 70, 80 feet, I'm grabbing that and I'm putting that down, letting them get a taste of that. So you can see those first three are all Lacey's jig heads. This fourth one, I'm cheating on Lacey. I'm going to tell you that right now. Go ahead and switch it up. All right, so this is a buddy of mine down at the Outer Banks. He makes these. These are called bowed up, and they will not outfish Lacey's jigs, ever. The only time that I like this jig is when the water gets really cold, and we'll talk about it here in just a second, when I really start to slow that bait down and I'm almost dead sticking. Lacey's jig head, because of the triangle nature of it, when you flip your wrist, when you jig it, that thing darts because of the triangle nature of it. I can try to make that one dart, it will not. This starts to become effective when the fish slow down. And I've got them over here. I don't have it hooked up, and you really can't see it from that picture. But it's a two-tone jig head, and this thing to me really looks like a blueback. When you put the, I believe this is called this is either silver flash or, yeah, this is silver flash. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the top of that fluke is blue, the bottom of that fluke is silver, and the jig head matches it. And these are actually like sticker eyes. I like that when I want to really slow it down. I've got one jig head over here. I think it was either last year or 2 years ago. I went to Lacey and I said, hey, these fish are down at 60, 70 feet, and they are relating to bait that's yay big, 2 inches long. I said, I want to use a smaller fluke, a 4-inch fluke, but the shank on your normal 3/4 ounce jig head is too long for that fluke. It doesn't allow that tail to kick because you're hooking. That hook's going to come out of that smaller fluke way down here, so it impacts that. So I called Lacey. I said, "Hey, can you make me? Would you make me like 6? I just wanted to experiment. 3/4 ounce with a shorter shank hook. So on your normal 3/4 ounce jig heads, what's your standard shank hook?
It's a 6 off.
It's a 6 off. What did you make me? A 3 or a 4?
I think it was a 3. I made both 3 and 4.
Yeah, and it works. It worked. Now, are we going to get in that situation again? I don't know, but I have that ready. I don't have many, but I've got one lined up over here so you can kind of see the difference in what that fluke is. I don't like the Zoom Fluke Junior. I found a 4-inch bait I like better. It's made by Bass Assassin. I like the albino shad. I like the pearl. And if any of you fished with me when I'm casting swim baits, Bass Assassin makes this great color scheme called Crystal Shad. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. You can come over and take a look at it. I love that for my swim baits, and I love it for these little 4-inch flukes. It's Crystal Shad. All right, go ahead and switch it, John. Let's see where we go from here.
Bass Assassin also has a 4-inch DOA glove.
Is that a paddle tail?
No, split tail.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now we're on to, we've got our setup, we're ready to go fishing. Where do you fish? There's a lot of water out there, right? It's a ton of water. I live here. I live just north of the bridge. Here's Hales Ford Bridge, and this is going up the Roanoke Arm. I live right here. In the wintertime, I don't want to ride a long ways. I don't want to get cold. Like I told you, I'm a fair weather fisherman. So a couple things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the main channel. Everybody knows the main channel. You can see the main channel on here, and you can follow it with the pink or purple line, whatever that is, all right? So that's one thing we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a main channel swing. Everybody know what a main channel swing is. I've got 1, 2, 3, and let's call that 4 altogether. You might be able to argue and say there's 4 and 5. And then we might be able to maybe say up there at Grimes there might be another one. I'm going to call that a bottleneck. You can call it what you want. All right, so in this, I'm going to define 3 major creeks, okay? I've got Stony, well, let's go. Hell's Creek, Stony, and Indian. Those are 3 major creeks north of the bridge. You go on up a little further, then you've got Jump and Run, Beaver Dam, and Linville, okay? I find as the winter goes along, the fish start to come out of the, let's call that the river. They come out of the river, so I don't typically go up there as often, okay? So even in those creeks, you've got channels, you've got creek channel swings. So right down here at Hell's Creek, here's Webster's. Webster's is right here on this peninsula right here. I see 1, 2, man, I've got a super highway right here where the creek channel parallels the main channel. Y'all see that? And then I'm going to have another creek channel swing. I believe it's right here where that submerged bridge is. There's another creek channel swing. So coming out of Hell's Creek, if you even want to go back here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 channel swings right there. Stony. I don't want to talk about one of my great bass fishing spots in Stony. But man, oh man, I love that spot right there. That's a great channel swing right there. There's another right here. And there's going to be a really cool bait picture later. Here's another channel swing. And that creek channel, it parallels the main channel for just a second, and then it turns right out into it, dumps into it. Indian, this thing twists and turns more than any, I mean, look coming out of Indian. You got a creek channel turn here. You got another one here. You got another one here. I believe this is going to be like the hotel right here, I believe. Okay? So you've got a creek channel swing there, and then you've got another one that's, there's a dock that sits about right here, I want to say. There's another one out in front of that. Now, there are a bunch of minor creeks. Don't overlook those. Hatfield Creek, up past where Gary lives, Buff Creek. Buff Creek's one of my favorite spots to sit at the mouth of. If I get a west wind and the wind's coming out of Buff Creek, I can sit, face that wind, match the wind speed with my trolling motor, and sit there like I've got spot lock. Spot lock. You guys, I've told you, I'm cheap, so I don't have spot lock, but I can have spot lock if I match the wind speed, okay? So we got a couple other things we wanted to find here. Everybody knows what like a main channel point is. Here's a good definition of a main channel point there. Right here's another nice main channel point. I call that little bluebird. Stony, there's a main channel point there. And then you've got your secondary points in your creeks. Here's a secondary point. That's a major secondary point back there in Indian. Again, I don't want to give away my bass fishing spots, but there's a real good back toward the back of Indian. And then we're going to zoom in on a place here. And I'm probably not going to use right fisherman terminology, but there are a couple places where you get 2 points facing each other. I call it a pinch point. I don't know what the real name of it is, but there's a real nice pinch point right down here. You've got a point there, and you've got a really long point there, and you've got the creek coming out, and it really pinches that creek down right there, okay? So we've talked about main channel swing, creek channel swing, main channel point, secondary points, pinch points. Anybody got any questions about any of that stuff? And any of you guys that are better fishermen than me, if I'm calling stuff the wrong thing, let me know, please. All right. So when I leave my house, like I said, I'm coming out of this cove right here. I live right here. Come out of my cove. First thing I'm gonna check this point because this is a pretty main point right here. All right. This is the motherland right here. Sometimes in the mornings, this is called the bass fishermen call it 5 points, I believe. You can see where the channel really gets close to the mouth of that. I don't think that there's any true creek that comes out of there, but between the creek channel and the actual, let's call it the cove, 5 fingers, there are tons of trees. Tons of trees. It's a great place. It's one of those spots that we've identified. It's a channel swing, all right? It's not a top level for me, but it's somewhere I want to look. So when I come out of my cove, I'm looking on my point here. I usually save this point for this is usually one of my last spots I fish because I can come past my house and go back home. This spot right here gets fish on it in the evenings, and I don't know why. I always say when I'm jigging, I want to find bait. Very rarely do I ever see bait on that point flat. I mean, this really, I wouldn't call it a true point. It's more of like this just big, massive flat. It's about 30 feet deep, way out here. But the fish get up on there. And I don't see a lot of bait here. All right. So the first thing I do is I want to identify, when I come out of my cove, or when you go fishing, identify where your main channel is. Use your electronics. You want to be in the main, for me, this is the way that I do it. I want to find the main channel because that's where, during the winter, I feel like my biggest concentration of bait might be. All right? Now, let's see if I want to talk about this right now or if I want to talk about it in a minute. Another thing I want to determine at the beginning of my fishing trip is which way is the wind blowing. It makes a difference. At least to me, I have figured out some success with identifying which way the wind blows. Okay? If we have any, and most of the time in the winter, our prevailing wind has some sort of north component in it, right? The wind blows here. It creates a current. Those bait fish are going to follow that current. North wind, it's going to blow down that channel. Here's Stony. I mean, that's a long straightaway. It moves a lot of water. The bait ends up down here at the southern end. If we get a southerly wind, it's different, and I'll show you some screenshots. I fished on December 30th and 31st with a northwest wind. Then I fished on January 5th with a southeast wind, and the bait was in completely different areas, and I'll show you that. But on the south wind, the opposite. South wind's going this way. Where's the bait going to end up? Now, we got a big peninsula here. So we've got double push here with a south wind. Mike Sneed. Bulldog's a good place, isn't it?
It's a horrible place.
Don't go fishing there, right?
Oh, Bill.
All right. So we're looking in the main channel for bait. Yes, sir.
Is that about R33?
32. 32A.
Yeah, it is.
That's what
It
Gilmore
is.
and
Yeah, R33's here, R34 is right there. Okay? And this is Long Island Drive, right here. Okay? This is that really tall rock bluff, but 33 and 34 there. 31's down here. All right? Go back and scroll back out on that. So, there we go. So I've told you this is a spot that I look. This is a spot that I look. For me, this typically is a better morning spot, but man, I've worn them out in the afternoon there too. The first place that I really start to really get serious is right here. And the reason why, we got 3 things happening there. See if you can, well, I'll tell you what, go to the next screen, because I think I did. All right, go to the next screen. Okay. So we talked about we want the main channel. So as you can see, the main channel swings really close into this creek here. And there is a creek here, creek bed, okay? So we have the main channel, we have a channel swing, and we have a creek bed here. Bingo. For me, in the way that I fish. The fish, again, in my experience, and other people may have different experience, but I feel like during the day, the fish use the main channel, all right? They are moving up and down the main channel. They're moving for whatever reason, finding food, finding different food, all right? If we get that north wind, I got bait here. I could have bait back in here, but I've got bait in this area. That's the dinner bell, right? If there's bait, I've got the dinner bell ring. Okay? Now I've got my creek here. Guess what else I've got here? Look here. Really close to where it dumps into the main channel, I got a creek channel swing. So I've actually added a 4th good element for the way that I like to fish and the way I like to identify areas. And then I told you earlier, there was a pinch point. All right? If everybody knows this area right here, there's an old cannon that sits on this point. There's a willow tree that sits on this point. And you can see what a prominent point that point is. This is not as prominent, but look what it creates. It creates a pinch point in that creek, and I think that's what causes that creek channel turn there, okay? I spend a lot of time fishing right here. If you want to join me, join me. I don't care. I really don't care. Just don't fish enough close to me where you're going to hook me in the head when you set the hook. Okay? I enjoy jigging with other people around. There's something about jigging. There's this camaraderie about it. I don't know what it is. Gary's been with me, catching fish, jigging, catching fish, casting to busting fish. I'll be honest with you. I act like a maniac. Don't I? I get to squealing. I get to hollering. It's
the only one.
It's the best. It's the best non-alcohol, non-drug, non-whatever induced fun that you can have. I'm telling you. If I could jig, and you can jig year round. But it is, to me, it is the most fun way to catch a fish. And I think the singular reason is because that braid has 0 stretch. Now you're going to have a little stretch in your leader, but not much. If you're using 8, 10, 12, 20 foot leader, you're not going to have much stretch. So when you get that hit, it's you versus the fish. And when you come tight on it, there's going to be about a 2 or 3 second stalemate there. And if you could put that right there in my veins, give it to me. Because that is it right there. Okay? But this area is, and there are so many areas on the lake like this, where all the factors come together. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, this could happen in Betty and Becky's, where you've got, where you've got the actual creek channel coming out, and you've got a creek channel swing where there's maybe another little minor creek coming into it. Or up the lake or down the lake where you've got another minor creek coming in, like we talked about, like Hatfield Creek or Buff Creek or any of these others. I have spent a lot of time looking at this. This is the Navionics web app. I look at this. I work from home. I pull this thing's up on my computer probably 80 to 90% of the time. I keep it so that if I'm talking to a customer and they're just sitting there blah, 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 I'm looking at this Navionics. If you know my customers, please don't tell them that. But I spend a lot of time looking at this, and I know we're a striper club, and I was telling Lacey, I'm not a good enough bass fisherman, man, to go out here and toss it around docks and try to catch fish that get beat over the head all day, every day. I have found some spots down the lake that I know these fish are chasing bluebacks on humps and points, and I go down there and I use stuff like the 5 and 6 XD in the sexy shad color that mimics, you know, the bluebacks, and I'm still not a decent bass fisherman, but I'm a heck of a lot better than I used to be. And part of it is looking at these maps and identifying places, going and figuring out, fishing them. Are they what they look like on the map? Are they worse?
It's a chart.
Chart.
Right.
Sorry. Are they worse or are they better? Sometimes you think, oh, that spot might not be that good, and you get there and it's better than you thought it was. You know, it may be deeper or it may be more shallow, whatever. All right, go ahead and flip to the next one.
Okay, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
So right there, like hit that pinpoint off.
Mhm.
Are you,
Go ahead.
and I might be jumping ahead, but are you fishing the bottom? Are you looking for suspended fish? Or?
I'll show you some screenshots
sorry.
here. No, it's fine. That's a great question. That's a really good picture there. Look at that channel swing. Now, this channel may not even be 15 or 20 feet wide. There's not much of a creek there at all, but it's something, okay? And you'll see there's going to be a screenshot, and I believe the screenshot was taken right here in this, let's just call it maybe this area. And you can actually see the depression where the old creek channel used to be. And there's a tree on the creek bank leaning. It's really cool. Go ahead and flip to the next one. All right. So that's what I saw. I'm idling. I've still got my big motor on, guys. I'm idling along. I'm searching. Okay. I've got my regular sonar on, and I've got my down scan on because I want to make sure that that's not a tree. And this tells me that it's not a tree. Okay. Now I could have had this split 3 ways, and maybe I switched it. But if I'm looking in an area, I do want to make sure that I'm in or near the channels. So I will have my maps up to make sure that I'm at least close to a creek channel or the main channel. I'm fishing on that. Obviously, I think everybody in their right mind would. That's a good wad of fish. I'm not going to count them. That's probably 40, 50 fish. And you can see there were more coming. So what I did is I turned my engine off. Like a maniac, ran to the front of the boat, slammed my trolling motor down, and proceeded to turn the boat around because I wanted to try to get back on those fish. Go ahead and hit the next one. I got on that fish. Okay? Look here. So this is the pearl. White jig, 3/4 ounce. Yellow kiss me eyes. Okay? That was a pretty nice fish. I want to say that was like I think that was like a 20, I didn't measure it, but I'm eyeballing 28-inch
Is that a
fish.
2-person net where one person has to go?
Well, let me tell you. Guys, I told y'all I was cheap. All right? So, it was cold. So when I put the net in the water, there was a one of those little pop-up springs that keeps the net from fully coming out. Well, I was excited and whack, I'm like, crap, I've got to, I didn't want to put my hand in the water because it was cold. So you should have seen me pulling this fish out of the water with a jacked up net. Okay? All right. And look, guys, I'm absolutely in awe of this fish. I mean, first of all, it's a healthy fish. It's a beautiful fish. Look at, I love the stripe patterns, most of all on the gill plate. Look at, you've got some pinks, you've got some purples, you've got some olive green, you've got some black. I love the fish.
Look how skinny he is.
We got a bait problem, Merle. We got a real bait problem in this lake.
I
Okay?
couldn't resist.
I know. But look, I want you to look. That's a healthy fish, guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a healthy fish. That fish, but I will say this. We're going to go a next screen or two. That fish was like, let's call it 28. I don't want to over eyeball it. But that fish pulled and he bulldogged, okay? There is a really good, steady pull and a heaviness to that fish. My best guess, that fish is probably 10 pounds. Okay? So we've all seen my cheapness again with the jacked up hand. Let's go on to the next one. All right. So this happened. Okay, go back 2 screenshots. Notice that's 413. All right. So maybe I've got these out of order. That was the second fish that I caught that day. Go ahead. That was 440. All right. To me, I think that's more fish than the first screen. Okay. But you can see I caught a fish. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that line coming up? This is while I'm actually fighting the fish. I took a picture. And I think when you're fighting a fish, you raise fish. The fish come with it. I'm sure you've seen this before. Okay? But you can see where I caught a fish. I don't see my jigging. Maybe there's a faint line. Maybe here. I don't
Chad, isn't
see
it at the 25? Isn't that you?
Well, that's after I've hooked the fish and I'm bringing it to the boat.
Okay.
I hooked the fish, in my opinion, probably somewhere within this piece of paper.
Yeah.
You can see that straight line there to the left where you just had, where you jig patterned it.
Maybe right in here.
Where your finger
Well, and we'll talk about this here. You can tell I'm not doing that, right? If I'm jigging at all, that jig might be moving a foot, okay? But it brings fish with it. All right, go on to the next screen. All right, this is a little smaller fish, still healthy. Look at the belly on that fish. This fish was maybe 24 inches, same jig head. I think I had the pearl on because I was maximizing how many fish I caught off that fluke.
That looks worse. Look at it coming off.
So that fish fought way different. A little smaller fish. I got some darting. I got some diving. He actually took me around. I hooked it on the port side of the boat, landed it on the starboard side. Took me all the way around the back of the boat. These smaller fish, they are terrorizers. They're very healthy. They're fed very well.
Will you say that when Dan's here?
I will. I will.
Really?
Yes.
You skipped that part right there, I'm sure.
What?
You skipped that.
Yeah, I took a work call during this. So, and all of these pictures are taken, you can see 413, 430, 440 something, whatever. It takes you a minute or two to get the fish in. It takes you a minute or so to unhook the fish, get a picture and send it back. We had a great discussion today with Dean Wood, fish guide, striper guide here on the lake. Even in cold water, Dean wants us to torpedo these fish back. And as Striper Club, we probably need to develop some sort of best practice about getting these fish head down, get them going back down into the water, and that should be one of our things going forward. So I've been doing it for a while. Gary's been on the boat. Some of you guys have been on the boat with me. You see me, I take that fish, I hold it by the head, I've got my hand about its anal fin, and man, I'm taking that fish and I'm shoving it down into the water so that he can get a head start. It's a rush of water and oxygen into his lungs, and they take off, and they're healthy. Even more so in the warm water. We want to get them through that upper layer that's warm and get them down to where it's a little cooler. I mean, guys, when I see this, I get so tore up I can't even talk sometimes.
Were you by yourself that day?
I was. And when I'm by myself, I always, I'll text somebody and say, "Oh man, if you'd been with," because if you're trying to, fish and control the boat and do all that, if I've got an experienced fisherman with me, they should be able to outfish me 2-1. Should be able to. So we could more than double our catch. But I love it. It makes me smile to see this, squealing and having a great time. Go ahead and go to the next one. All right, so that was a little smaller fish. All right, Same thing here, guys. Look, it's the same jig head, the same setup. That fish is a little skinnier. That one was probably 22 inches. I'm just, pardon my language, he raised holy hell on me. He really did. I really thought I had something. Because the way that he fought and the way that he used all the water available to him, he made me earn it. All right, so I love, stay out for a second. Zoom out. I am, if you remember that picture we talked about, and I talked about the point with the cannon on it and the willow tree on it, I'm starting to come, the wind, or maybe me, I can't remember, these fish had worked back into that cove creek a little further. So at this point, you can see, I'm pointing due east right now, or, yeah, pretty much. I'm pointing toward that really nice bait light at R31, okay? at R30. I'm at R31 right now, looking toward R30, okay? And you can see the back of my boat is starting to get up on that point. I'm still a good ways off of the land, off of the shoreline. But those fish had worked themselves back in there. Now, on a situation like this, you asked me the question, I am dropping that jig directly to the bottom because two things I see. I see a clean bottom for the most part. No trees, no shrubs. There's probably something down there. But those fish are on the bottom. So at 56 feet, that's going to be about a 17 or 18 second drop. And I'm going to leave that thing open until it doesn't go anymore. And then I'm going to crank it, set it, and maybe give me 2 cranks because that's going to get it about 4 or 5 feet off the bottom. And then I start to jig. I did not catch a fish out of that. Everything's perfect there. I would take this over the other screenshots because those fish are suspended. These fish, you should catch those fish more than you should catch the others, and I did not. I got a bump, but I did not hook up.
Did you do any thumping?
Every now and then, I don't thump with a rod because, I'm trying to do, so I'll thump with my foot a little bit. I know there are some people that are a huge believer in it. I'm not an unbeliever of it. I'm somewhere in, maybe let's call it purgatory. I'm thinking it might work, it might not work.
Might scare you.
Right. But I have seen people do it and it works. And I have done this and I've gotten a bite. All right, go ahead and, all right, so that's all for the fish catching pictures. All right, so now this is the day I went out last week and I had, so all those fish that you saw that were caught, that was on a north wind or some sort of north wind, and they were at the south end of the channel, okay? That was December 30th and 31st, okay? So I went out the 5th or the 6th of January, had a different wind. I still went to my spot. I went to 5 Fingers. I went to 31. Not as much bait and no fish there. So then I start thinking, what's different? Water temperature was still about the same. Still a sunny day. The wind was different. So then my thoughts start to change. Where did the bait go? Because then that's where the fish went. So I started up the channel. All right. I'm going from the bridge north. All right. So here's Stony Creek right here. Go ahead and hit the next screen, John. This is so cool. I'm pretty sure this is still in the, I had maybe gotten off of the main channel just a little bit. But this is definitely the main channel because it's 110 feet deep. That's the old riverbank right there. That's the old river channel. Look at the bait. The bait's in 70, it's probably 70 to 80-ish feet. A nice thick ribbon of it. Look at that. There's bait in those trees.
What time of day was that, Jen?
Scroll back out. 2:52.
Okay.
Go ahead and hit the next one. now I've moved up. Now we're getting toward the bulldog area, 33 and 34. Okay? It's really weird in this area. There is bait in the channel. But sometimes the bait will be off the channel as well. And it could be just because there is so much bait in this area at times, depending on the wind and other factors, that they just need to spread out. I don't know. So go ahead and hit the next screen. I mean, that's a lot of bait.
You can walk on that.
It's a lot of bait. And you can see, again, at one point I was just off the main channel, and then I was starting to get back into it. Look at it. There's a tree sitting on the riverbank. There's your riverbank. And then there's the bait down over there. Now this bait actually is a little deeper. It still starts at like 70. So to me, this bait probably goes down to like 90, right? Pretty close to it. And that's a lot of bait.
What do you think that is?
I sent Dan this picture. And I asked him, what is this? He said, I think it's a little bit of everything. Now, I don't think it's big gizzard shad. I don't think it's big gizzards. But I do think it might be yearling gizzards. It might be alewives, bluebacks, and yearling threads. Yes, sir.
So again, are you fishing the bottom there?
No, I'm not fishing here because I don't see any fish at all.
That's just bait.
Yeah.
That's just bait.
I'm a fish spot snob. If I don't see fish, I'm not fishing.
So fish, when you see fish,
It's an arch.
it's the arch.
Yeah, yes. I'm not
fishing a lot of bait.
Yep. Yep, I'm not.
That's what the fish look
Yeah,
like.
that's what the fish look like here.
That's the fish.
These are the arches. Okay?
Yep. That's the fish there on the top.
More like a big plate of spaghetti.
Yep.
Hey, Chad?
Yes, sir.
Do you have to be moving to see those orange arches and stuff like that?
That one where I was sitting in 56 foot of water, I was probably sitting as dead still as I could probably be sitting. You know, I was back in there. The wind was not messing with me. I mean, if I was moving, that boat might be moving. I mean, ever so slightly. All right, go ahead and go to the next.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So I'm only fishing when I see bait and fish that are near that bait. Okay? I've touched on it a little bit. The last thing I'm going to go over is just the actual presentation itself. I go ahead and I drop that down to whatever depth I'm going to. And I'm really weird, guys. I'm going to tell you I'm OCD. I'm on the left side of my boat. My center console's right here. The screen is here. I probably should be fishing like this, but I want this rod on the outside of my body for whatever reason. I don't know why. It just feels right to me. This does not feel right. I feel like I'm fishing across my body. But I fish like this. Now, if I'm fishing on the other side of the boat, I'm fishing like this. But I don't like that because I've got to turn my head more. My screen is more toward the left side of my center console. So most of the time, if you see me, I'm going to be standing on the left side of my boat with that screen right here. And most of the time, I'm not even looking over here. I'm looking at my screen. I want to see in live time what's going on. Okay? And this is my jigging right here. Can everybody see that? I might be flipping it. That tip might be moving, what, 3 or 4 inches, if that? And you're going to feel there's a rhythm to this. Okay? When you lift your rod tip, you're going to create just a little bit of slack. And you're gonna feel that rhythm of when that slack comes out of the line and your jig bottoms out again. So it's gonna have a tempo and a pace to it. If anything disrupts that pace, set the hook. Set the hook. If you feel like your jig is in a hole, set the hook. Set it. Because that's when they hit. If you feel a void, they have come up, they're eating it, and they're coming to you. Set the hook. You've got to make that line up that they've taken, and you've got to set the hook. So if they're 2 feet ahead of you, you've got to make that 2 feet up, plus you've got to hammer jack that jaw. Okay? Like you're going to miss some fish. That's just the nature of it. All right? But when you hammer that fish, it's going to be like a drug to you. It really is. And there are as the water gets colder, I may sit there just like this. You see what I'm doing with my feet? I'm rocking back and forth. I'm moving the jig because I'm maybe moving the boat a little bit, or I'm moving my hand just a little bit. That little tail on that fluke, it's down there dancing. A lot of people will call that dead stick, and it is, but that thing's moving. And that's when you really feel the bite. That's pretty cool. Because you've got no stretch, no nothing, no slack in your line at all. I have seen people out there jigging like this. The more you jig, the more slack you create, and the more time you lose contact with your jig. And the more opportunity for them to bite and you not know it. I like to try to keep as much contact with my jig as I can.
The only thing, and everything, I agree 100% with what you said, especially with the fluke. But now, if you see me out there doing this,
You got
I got a
spoon.
Hopkins spoon or a
Yes.
crocodile spoon, and you want that,
Yes,
because he's fluttering back
Yes.
down, and that's when you're gonna get you hit.
yes.
So
That's a whole different source of jig. You're exactly right. Yeah. But with this, I want to stay in contact as I want to lose contact with my jig for the shortest amount of time as possible.
When do you know when you go to a metal jig instead of the?
I used to jig 50-50. But the reason why I don't jig with a spoon nowadays is because it has a treble hook on it. And I don't want to mess with the treble hook. I really don't. If it means me catching one less fish a day, I'm okay with that. Because I do not like a treble. And it's not because they damage the fish or anything like that. I'll just be honest with you, I'm scared to death of a daggone treble with a fish flopping around with a treble hook in it. I took one years ago behind my thumbnail. I was asking for Jesus, fellas. I was. Golly, it was awful. Oh, it was horrible.
Did he come?
No, because we're still here. Anybody got any questions? I know I ran a long time. I'm sorry. I really am.
No, it's good stuff. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
When you're over a school and they disappear, I mean, they're all the time moving. Do you have any kind of feel for, what do you do? How do you start looking for them?
So
Do they move a long ways off or?
they can. I try to think about where they're coming from and where they could be going. Okay? Like to me, in the afternoons, I think these fish are coming out of the main channel and they're either coming into these creeks or they're staging up to get up onto these points and humps and stuff for the evenings. So like, well, we saw that one screenshot, well, there's several screenshots. I was in 100, I was in 90 feet. Then all of a sudden those fish showed up in 56 foot of water. Well, to me, that means they were moving back. Now, I lost them. What does that mean? I don't know. Did they go on back into that creek? I don't think so because I went back in there later and there wasn't any bait. Because that's what I tried to figure out. Once I lost them, why did I lose them and where did they go? And I didn't know because what I suspected was they went back in the creek and that creek was empty of bait. So I'm pretty sure they didn't go back in there. Did they turn around and they zigged when I zagged? That's probably what happened. And I didn't have my live scope with me that day. If I'm jigging, I typically don't take my live scope with me because it's just one extra piece of equipment that I've got to try to manage while I'm trying to manage, you know, the boat direction and everything else. That's a good question. I mean, you just, and that's the other thing, you lose them. Sometimes you guess right and you're like, I'm the smartest man alive. And sometimes you're not.